It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica, getting you closer to the big game in Arizona on Sunday between Kansas City and Philadelphia. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid commented on the status of quarterback Patrick Mahomes' ankle in the lead-up to Sunday's matchup.
Yeah, so he's been doing really well with his ankle, and we had a fast practice a couple days ago, and he moved well. He can really do just about everything, so at least everything in the game plan.
Mahomes also mentioning that the sprained ankle is in a much better place now than it was during the AFC Championship. College baseball just around the corner, and the SEC coaches poll is out, picking Tennessee to win the East. With 12 first-place votes, Florida picked to finish second in the Eastern Division, with Vanderbilt picked to finish third. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone, 101 on a Thursday afternoon. Happy Thursday. You can leave that door open, Buck. It's a steam bath in here.
Don't close it.
Buck had the club heated in here. It was dark
Yeah,
and warm.
he liked it.
Had the
He
strobe
liked
lights
it.
going.
He said he liked it hot.
It is amazing. We endorse a lot of like heat and air companies and things on here, and this studio is just the mouth of Hades. It is just the hottest, sweatiest.
You know, this is a great plan by Paul Mason. This is a great plan to make us so hot that we just start chatterboxing away just to make us not think about how hot it is. A great plan. I got to tip the cap to him. Salute, Mason.
I'm going to tell Lucas and Bert who I blame for this. You know who was telling me yesterday?
Blaine.
Yeah.
You blame Blaine.
Yeah. You know who was telling me how much he likes hot yoga now?
Me?
Yeah, this is 2 hours of hot yoga every day in here, man. You hot yoga in your way, this hot shoga.
Oh, Blaine's into hot yoga now.
Yes, he's
watch
Mr.
this.
Hot. Look at him. He's
All right,
melting
do
away.
some stretches, and
this
there's
is
your
how
hot yoga for
you
the
stay
day.
in shape. You got to work on your breathing, Lucas and Robert. You got to breathe. Deep breaths in, deep breath. Then next thing you know, you don't even worry about it. You know, I wonder if this is what is Aaron Rodgers? He's at some retreat. I know Lucas
Well, it hasn't
knows.
started yet. So it's after the Super Bowl. He's going into his isolation retreat for 4 days in complete darkness.
Yes.
So he's going to,
I'm like, man,
it
this
says
dude-
he's going to get food delivered. So it's
Yeah,
like
this
Uber
dude.
Eats just going to drop a box of chicken wings on the porch. But how do you keep it dark? Are you just going to fumble around with your chicken wings in the dark? Does he get to emerge from darkness to eat? If he has to whiz, does he just like whiz in the corner somewhere? I have a lot of questions about this.
Oh my! This is why I believe he'll never be a Tennessee Titan. All the rumors about it. No way. You think about Mike Vrabel. Nothing like that. He'd be like, "You do what? Man, I don't want that dude at my quarterback. No, man. You know, if he was like climbing a mountain or something,
He
maybe.
played hurt though. Remember, he had like thumb avulsion or whatever. Vrabel
yeah.
likes tough guys. It's just tough.
But that
His thumb
is
got ripped
tough.
off.
That is tough, though. But, you know, sometimes you have to be tough because you're making $60 million.
Yeah, I could be tough.
No,
for
I think
$60
Aaron
million.
Rodgers is tough, though. So, you know, because one throw would look like, wow. And then the next throw would be like, whoa, what happened? He was wide open.
You think that was that faulty thumb this year? Because
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The next day after they played the Titans, you're like, he had one throw where a guy was running and the ball like just landed in his hand while he ran with the guy draped all over him. And then later he missed wide open throws.
Yeah. He did that in the Titans game.
That's what I'm saying.
In the
We
Titans
talked
game,
about
yeah.
that the day after that game.
Yeah, I firmly believe it's that. I mean, the receiver was looking like, what are you doing? Like, I'm wide open on a dig route. You threw it in the dirt.
Yeah.
And there was no pressure. Yeah, so I'm sure it was frustrating for him and them and everybody involved. But, you know, he's a different cat. As much as I love his talent and everything else, he's a different cat. And you know what's so funny, man? I think he really is chasing the ring, and it's hard to determine and make everything fit the puzzles perfectly. It's just impossible. There's no rhyme. You can say, I'm going to go to a team that has a good line, good passing weapons. You can go to a team like the Titans. As of right now, they have none of that and may have that. So which then would open the window for him to consider the Titans, I'm sure.
I don't think he's chasing a ring.
You don't? I think he is. You don't
I
think
think
he
he's
is?
chasing an MVP. He's never said anything about, I think I could win another Super Bowl. Every time he's talking to Pat McAfee, I could think I could win MVP somewhere. Like, what about a Super Bowl, man?
Well, it depends on how the question was phrased. If they ask him about MVP, because that was a big debate. People were saying he was asked about MVP. He just didn't volunteer that he's chasing a Super Bowl ring.
The question at that time was, if you feel like you could still play. It's like, absolutely. I feel like I could win MVP again. That might be being hard on him, but I haven't heard him talk about the goal of winning a Super Bowl in this whole thing.
Okay, and that's exactly who he is. It's because he's all about him. But I think if I was guessing, because he is never going to tell you what he's really thinking, because he's just sharp like that, is he doesn't just want to have one Super Bowl ring. He got to have two. It's no different than when Peyton Manning had the one. Then you got to have the two to separate yourself from all the other greats. So that's why I say that. And I think he's an ultra big-time competitor. I really believe that. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's great. But also it could, be a negative to a certain point. So, it is what it is. I think he wants another ring. Just like now, a lot of people are saying he may retire. You think he's going to retire same year as Tom Brady?
I don't think no. See? Absolutely not.
Well, you have no proof of that, but I feel the exact same way.
There's also $60 million on the table for next year.
And he got to make a decision here pretty quick, like in the next couple of weeks, right?
Like after he comes out to darkness with his poop bottle and his chicken wing bones.
Man, I don't know if I can make it. You think you can make it? Robert, I know Robert can't make it through there. Robert be like, I'm probably the only one could make it through that.
I said it yesterday on Buck Show. I do a darkness retreat every night. I go in my room, I cut all the lights off, and I go to bed. I can do that. I can do that, no problem. Especially get paid for that. I get paid to do that. I can do it.
I can say I do not do that because I fall asleep with my TV on, so it's never darkness.
Might do one this weekend.
I'm serious.
Okay.
How does because I was reading about it. It says he gets food delivered. Does he flip a light on like long enough to eat a bowl of soup or
That
something?
was my question. Is he eating blindly? Does he know what he's eating?
That's like the Pilgrims. You know, the Pilgrims used to eat so many bugs because they ate at night. They didn't have light to see. They'd be eating roaches. They didn't know. So
Is this documented anywhere?
I have no idea. I used to watch History Channel, and now it's kind of all morphed into each other. So maybe, I don't know. That makes a lot of sense, though, don't it?
I wouldn't be surprised, though.
If they ate a bunch of bugs, they're like, oh, these potatoes are good, but they sure are crunchy.
You mean like bugs just would crawl in the bowl while they were eating or across their plate?
I would assume so, yeah.
It sounds plausible.
Yeah.
But bugs scramble away from people. They fear people.
Well, if the lights are on.
Let me see if I can hustle onto, this plate here for
get me a little nourishment.
let me see if I can climb upon this plate.
But when the roaches scatters when you cut the lights on. If he's in the dark, they probably like, oh, this is just a big-ass roach in here.
But he's going to light a candle.
He can't.
You got to see how to cut your meat.
I feel bad for his toes, man. I'd be banging my shins in the wall and is there furniture in there?
I think people adapt to whatever their circumstances are. The open prairies of the yesteryear weren't filled with people with bruised shins.
Isn't there a stat somewhere about like the average human has swallowed like X amount of spiders in their sleep in their lifetime?
I wake up all the time.
How many spiders is Aaron Rodgers going to swallow during his isolation retreat?
He may swallow just some so he can hallucinate.
What? So many people have. This is kind of.
Now this is intrigued Blaine. He is. Wait,
people
what?
have swallowed through their sleep.
Wait, spiders?
Some spiders at some point in time, or small ones. I'm assuming.
I'm gonna ask Siri. How many spiders do people swallow in their sleep?
We're about to ask the public, the listeners. Because I know Robert's swallowed. He probably ate spiders voluntarily. he started cutting off their legs and everything else.
When I was a kid, you used to get dared to eat earthworms and stuff. I've done that. The internet says people swallow 8 spiders a year in their sleep.
That's a lot. No! What did Siri say? I will call Siri right now. Seriously, I'm going to call the real Siri lady whose voice it, and I'm going to get her to say that this is a lie.
Hasn't she been on the station before?
You're looking at who got her on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I know her.
Yeah, is she like some omnipotent being who can answer questions like this?
I don't know. The real person who did all this, she did a whole bunch of recordings and still gets paid, but she's not getting paid all those millions of dollars that everybody
you think she would.
Mm-hmm. They had her record all these things for so many days and all this stuff. It was kind of kind of interesting, man. It's kind of intriguing, though.
She interrupts my conversations all the time, even when I'm not talking to her.
Okay, here's an article.
What's it say?
Scientific American. It says there's a myth that people swallow 8 spiders a year.
Myth.
Is
It
it says
says
fact or
the
fiction?
myth flies in the face of both spider and human biology, which makes it highly unlikely that a spider would ever end up in your mouth.
Well,
Why am I disappointed?
That's an average. So some people get 0, and maybe some people like me get like 16, and that averages out.
Oh, my. He's so silly.
You ever wake up and there's like
You about as silly as this guy's hair that it looks on his TV right there.
Oh my! Wow,
So-
this guy.
Is anybody who's eaten a spider or insect or just something to the sort, give us a call. 737-1045. We like to know actually, or did it happen in your sleep and then you woke up or just anything like that? Because I want to diffuse this Robert that's saying that it's not a myth. It is real.
You guys can look this up.
737-1045 is that one.
With all your Twitter fingers in there. I want to say that the Seattle Mariners, as a food item, offered crickets.
Crickets. Okay, that cricket is part of this. Yeah.
An order of crickets that you could order and eat and sold out of crickets. You guys can confirm or deny that.
Grasshoppers, I believe.
Grasshoppers.
okay,
Yeah, grasshoppers, worms, anything of the sort. Just call in because we will know for sure Robert has probably eaten all of these things, but we will use your case study to see if it's something that's plausible for people to be eating.
I've never tried it, but you can't eat crickets and grasshoppers in some
Yeah, I've
countries.
seen this
as a snack.
on some shows. Well, what's those shows called when they're Survivor and all that stuff? Don't they eat like crazy stuff like
Naked
that?
and afraid.
Fear Factor.
Oh, Fear Factor now, huh?
Fear
One time-
Factor would be. That's some of the grossest stuff I've ever seen in my life.
I haven't seen that.
On a dare in college once, I swallowed a whole goldfish.
Oh. Well, that doesn't seem. What, did you just go real quick,
I don't
or
know if
did
you
you
guys-
chew it?
Sushi.
No, I just swallowed it. I didn't chew it at all. I just put it in my mouth with the water and swallowed it.
Oh, so that's like having sushi. Speaking of that, we just saw Ant-Man right here on the commercial with Heineken.
I ain't never ate one of those, but I have ate a goldfish.
Go
All
for
right.
it. That doesn't sound so bad.
All right, we got a lot going on. Multiple guests in the next segment, but Buffalo and Gallatin
Watch
has,
it. Yeah, we get those guests all the time.
has
we don't
checked
get them all the
in
time.
about eating bugs on the Mark Spain Real Estate
This is
Hotline.
way more important.
So, Buffalo, where are we with bug eating?
Crunch down on a stink bug.
Oh, ooh.
Oh, heavens, Betsy. No, man.
You hate us.
Yeah, I was late night Netflix binge watching at about 10 Trulies in. I didn't know what the hell climbed into my cup. I was like, what's crunchy? I don't remember having ice in my Truly. That son of a gun was a stink bug. Took me 2 weeks to get that crap out of the taste out of my mouth, man.
Oh, you getting sick or anything, huh?
I would know. I turned 57 Tuesday. Get her done.
Happy birthday.
Oh, happy belated birthday.
Hopefully, there's no stink bugs on your cake.
Wow.
I accidentally swallowed a bee in my Coke once. It didn't sting me.
A bee in your Coke.
Yeah, like a bee. I was in Brazil. A bee crawled, as a kid, it crawled into my Coke, and I swallowed it. I felt so I spit it out. It was a bee.
Oh.
No sting.
No, I was fine.
It was rendered stingless by the soda in your cup. That Brazilian Coke is strong. Rendered a bee stinger useless.
Coca-Cola, yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't try to poke your tongue. He maybe thought he was going to give you some honey.
Dylan checks in on the Zone TV chat. I witnessed a kid eat a live frog at church camp once. He swallowed it whole. He said,
it had a baby frog, right? No way.
Oh,
That thing would get in his stomach and start saying ribbit. Ribbit.
all right.
Everyone knew that one.
We got to jump out of this segment. Chelsa Messinger coming up next.
We couldn't have planned this.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. It's Super Bowl week. There's how many people are. Chelsa Messinger joins us now. She's our betting expert. Joins us same time every week with the daily tip at Chelsa Messinger on Twitter. What's the number? How many people bet on the Super Bowl and how much? It's all just.
Oh, that's what
it's
I was gonna ask.
Millions of people bet, and they bet millions of dollars.
No. Billions.
Oh, yes. A record-breaking Super Bowl it's supposed to be. The American Gaming Association put out the numbers. It's like 1 in 5 Americans are expected to bet on the Super Bowl, and $16 billion is expected to be the handle.
Mm-hmm.
So, with a B.
Yes, billion. So this is the biggest.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Especially here in the States. I know overseas it's probably the World Cup. But yes, the Super Bowl going to be a lot of money.
Well, how's that comparable? Who's second? Who was, I guess, formerly was the number one amount of money that was bet on the Super Bowl?
On the Super Bowl or the other events?
Well, whatever number you put into the 16 billion. Like, what was the number one number then before this number?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh.
That's all I got from the press release that I got. But I think it's just because sports betting's legal now. So a lot of people can do it. It's very easy. It's on your phone. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to use it's just like on your phone. So you don't even see the money.
Dang, yeah, that got Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, it's just too easy. It's too easy. So I think a lot of people will be using that to their advantage, including us here in Tennessee.
Well, the Super Bowl is also the Super Bowl of betting, is how I described it to somebody. Have you bet yet your octopus? And for people who weren't.
What? Explain that again.
Yeah, you got to explain what, because I posted that clip from you, and several people reached out to me and said, what in the world is this? So I will ask you, would you give the brief explanation once again of the octopus, and have you bet one? Because as you pointed out, a player scored an octopus against the Titans this year, and that player is in the Super Bowl now.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's a smart bet, though. I think this is a good, water cooler discussion. But here's what an octopus is. It means a player scores a touchdown, and then he scores the 2-point conversion immediately after. And the person who did this was Patrick Mahomes. Did this against the Titans, scored a touchdown, and then immediately after the 2-point conversion. But here's the thing. Patrick Mahomes is 5-1 to score a touchdown. And the octopus is 14-1. And granted, you get other players included in that bet just for the octopus alone. But I think I'd rather take Patrick Mahomes anytime touchdown. Doesn't 5-1 seem like pretty good value on a guy that I know his ankle's hurt, but it is the Super Bowl. If there is an opening and everybody, is covered in the end zone, I wouldn't put it past Patrick Mahomes to run it in for a touchdown. So instead of the octopus, which sounds cool, I think I'd go with Patrick Mahomes anytime touchdown, 5-1.
The other thing, too, Chelsea, and again, he does have a messed up ankle right now. But you know this, if they get to the 1 or the 2, they'll just sneak his big butt behind the O-line. I mean, he gets those opportunities, too. You get a lot of looks at touchdowns with him on his feet.
But what or who big butt? Is that a bet?
Right. I was not aware that he was caked up. I don't know that.
There we go.
Chelsa Messinger, our guest, host of the Daily Tip at Chelsa Messinger on Twitter.
Look, I have to ask you this because my wife doesn't watch sports at all. I'm going to just give you the backdrop. So when we're watching games, so she wants to, pretend just like when I'm watching one of her shows or whatever, that she's interested. So she'll pick a team. She always picks the team that she likes the color. So does the color of the jersey, whether you're the home team or the away team, factor into who wins or who bets and how much money and everything else in a Super Bowl?
Well, there's
or the home team and away team jersey, I guess.
Yeah, there's a surprising trend where the teams who have worn the white jersey, I think they've won 7 of the last 8 Super Bowls. Don't hold me to that, but it's been an overwhelming trend where the teams who are wearing the white uniforms are winning the Super Bowl. Would I bet on that? No. It's a bet you can make. Do I think it's a smart one? Because I think the one team or one of the few teams in recent history that it was not the case was the Eagles. When they won the Super Bowl, I believe they were not wearing their white uniforms. So, yeah, it's something fun, but there's something for everybody when it comes to betting on the Super Bowl, especially here in Music City. There's a ton of music-related props. If you're really into music, you can even bet on the color of Chris Stapleton's hat. Of course, there is the national anthem props, how long he's going to go. I tend to think that he is going to go long because he kind of draws things out. He sings slowly, and also he has a good voice. Like, I know he's not like a diva. You know, you think of those singers who really want to showcase their voice, but he's a pretty good singer. So I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to show off the pipes a little bit for the national anthem.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. We're on with Chelsa Messinger, host of the Daily Tip. I guess on the still on the props. I'm fascinated with all these props because that's kind of like the fun thing you can do while you're sitting at home, and you can just come up with all these ones, and I'm wondering if they're real ones. Let's start off with this: the cross sports props. What is that? Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
What is that?
To start off, there is, I think, 741 props that BetMGM is offering.
Oh, my.
So, like, think of all those props. Like, there's literally 741. So I have not looked at all of them, but a lot of these are hinging on the NBA. And right now, I don't know if you've noticed, but the NBA trade deadline is going bananas.
Yes.
So they might take some of these down because a lot of them are like Ja Morant points, rebounds, assists to be more than the total number of points scored in the Super Bowl. So there's things like that. I haven't really looked into a ton of them, but like I said, there's a million ways to bet the Super Bowl. So if you don't have a great feeling on a side or a total, like I don't, I think this game's going to be close. Maybe that's the way to go.
Right, yeah, just like I hadn't heard of octopus bets, cross sports bet. I hadn't heard of that either as a prop. I guess, and lastly, since I'm such a ding-dong, how quickly can you get paid for your prop bets? How does that work? Since I don't gamble.
It usually does it pretty quick. Like if it's on your phone, it's almost instantly after the game. Now a deposit or withdrawing your bet is a little bit, or withdrawing your money is a little bit tougher. But as far as crediting your account, I think it's almost instantly.
Okay. And lastly, for me, color of the Gatorade as well as how many replays there will be.
I don't know about the replays, but color of the Gatorade is one that's been discussed because apparently all season long the Chiefs have been an orange team and the Eagles have been a yellow Gatorade team. So a lot of it hinges on if you think these trends continue and also who you think wins the Super Bowl. So right now orange is the favorite, which is surprising because you think it would be flip-flopped since the Eagles are favored to win the game. But orange 3-1 and yellow/green, I believe, is 4-1.
Oh, all right. There you have it. Chelsa Messinger.
Okay, just because you mentioned this, and I'm fascinated by this question always, regular Gatorade, the regular lemon lime, do you call it yellow or green?
Yellow.
Okay.
Right? Isn't it yellow?
I have always said green Gatorade.
It's not green.
I know.
Electric yellow.
This is what I'm dealing with,
The
Chelsa.
label on the bottle when I was a kid was always green. I associate, and there are other people who do it. Like the Vols did a whole thing on, is this yellow or green? Like the Vol football Twitter account.
Oh.
And Chelsa was a college athlete, so I wonder if she said yellow or green. All right, before we let you go, winner of the game, I think it's Philadelphia -1.5 right now. How does the game go? Who wins?
Yeah, can I give some plays for this game, or are you just going to ask me about Gatorade the whole time?
No, go with it.
Well,
go. Here we go.
It's partly my fault and Lucas's and Robert's.
Here are my plays. So let's just go down the list. Travis Kelce, anytime touchdown, -125. Don't know if I've done this. I've done 5 interviews today. So Travis Kelce, anytime touchdown, -125. He scored a touchdown every single postseason game, both this year and last year. He is the security blanket for Patrick Mahomes in the end zone. Despite the matchup, the Eagles are great against tight ends, but Travis Kelce is a cheat code. So I'm going to go with Travis Kelce, anytime touchdown. Also, I mentioned this. Patrick Mahomes 5-1 to score a touchdown. I don't care about his ankle. It's the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think those odds are very nice for a guy who is extremely mobile, even when he's not 100%. Also, I'm going to go with Kenneth Gainwell, the pass-catching running back for the Eagles, over 11.5 receiving yards. The matchup really favors this one because the Chiefs have allowed the most receptions to opposing running backs and the 4th most receiving yards to opposing running backs as well. So he's the guy for the Eagles that's catching the passes. And also, when you have a young quarterback, when you expect some dump-down passes to the running back in some big moments, maybe when he gets a little nervous. So those are my plays. I do like the Eagles. Not my favorite play, but yeah, those are my plays.
Cool.
There you have it. Chelsa Messinger, host of the Daily Tip, at Chelsa Messinger on Twitter.
Final score. You going to give us a final score?
Ooh.
Yeah, 27-24 Eagles.
Oh, I think that's what I bet. Somebody threw a friendly bet. I said 27-24. Uh-oh.
Let's root for it then.
Well, I didn't gamble on it.
Hey,
but
Gainwell's
handshake
rushing
that.
over-under is a very low total, too, Chelsea. Just, me as a pro tip to you, I'd look into that.
Oh, thanks. Are you giving us now?
You're helping Chelsea?
You seem thrilled by my help
You
here.
should have just hung up on him on that.
Yeah. All right. You will hear Chelsea as soon as we finish this segment of the show, because you always hear on the zone. Let people know again, Chelsea, all the places they can find you and consume the Daily Tip and all your daily content.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Chelsa Messenger. Just search the Daily Tip wherever you get your podcast, and you can find all of our shows and all of our segments. And as always, thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate
The one and
Chelsea.
only
We
Chelsa
have fun
Messenger.
with it.
Gallatin's own Chelsa Messenger.
Mhm. Yours truly. Yeah, so back to the insect eating. No. All right, instead, we'll just talk about UT got beaten basketball by Vandy. Anchor down. I have huge questions here, and one question is irritating and chapping my you-know-what. And I can't wait till Lucas answers this question for me. Are you listening? Why was Coach Barnes playing man-to-man at the end of the game?
It's a good question.
Dun, 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 dun.
You don't want to give up a three.
Force them to get a three. Yeah. They hadn't. No. No. Well, they made it. That was like shot. But, I mean, that's what could happen when you're playing man-to-man.
Yes.
It could happen in zone, I guess, but I don't know. I thought that they should have changed up a little bit throughout the game. I think when coaches know what you're going to bring to the table, just knowing that he was going to stay in man-to-man, just imagine if he came out and played zone all of a sudden on that last, series and caught him off guard. They would have been like, oh, we got to call timeout again. Nope, you can't do that, sir. Then what they would have run. See, the element of surprise.
Well, they weren't surprised. Old Stack, he drew him up a play.
What a play.
Boy, did it work.
And great read by the player there who passed it. Man, that was, yeah. And, Vescovy came over, did what he's supposed to do, forced him to make a three, which is a tougher shot.
Mm-hmm.
God drained it. Lawrence drained it.
Supposed to have another guest. Cody Hollister and his brother Jacob are making the rounds at the Super Bowl. Obviously, Titan Cody Hollister, he is a restricted free agent now, but has been a Titan for 4 years. They're making the rounds at the Super Bowl, supposed to call in at some point in this segment.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be able to talk to those guys soon. Lucas, I know you've spoken to their representatives several times. Let me ask you this, Lucas. Would it be wise to take a break earlier than normal? No, Lucas says no. And the phone is ringing now.
Just in case they get caught up and don't call.
Well, the phone keeps ringing and then unringing and then ringing and then unringing. It's a long way from here to Phoenix. Maybe there's some atmospheric disturbance or something. It's made these phone calls difficult. Josh says Vescovy missed critical free throws. We missed a front.
Oh, that's also
one that was a kick in the fanny.
Yeah,
there at
which
the end.
he's 80 or more. I don't even know his numbers, but he's a great. Yeah, he missed. Yeah, that was another one. And then Phillips, the player,
passed up a dunk.
Oh my! All right, just even a layup. I mean, oh man, he thought he was doing the right thing. Sorry, Charlie.
Sorry, Charlie. Let's jump to the phone line. We got Cody and Jacob Hollister checking in. I do believe from somewhere on Media Row down there in Super Bowl world in Phoenix. Guys, how are you doing today?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having us.
Hey, fantastic. For a lot of people who don't know, Titans fans know Cody. But for those who don't know, Jacob, his brother, twin brother, 6-year veteran, tight end, has played for a handful of teams in the NFL. Let's just start with this. Has anybody ever told you guys, what are the odds of twin brothers both making the NFL?
Besides the McCourties, right?
No one's told us the odds because, McCourties were in the league, but no, I don't think someone could count out the odds for that one.
I'd say worse than winning the lottery.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Now, you guys are talking about he gets us. Is that right?
Right.
And for people who don't know, I saw this entire Twitter thread the other day. Somebody said, I was watching a football game and Jesus had an advertisement during the game.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine you guys can very well explain this since you're repping that organization right now.
Mm-hmm.
We do, yeah, and that's exactly what's so special about it is you're seeing not only believers who are like, man, this is incredible that you're seeing Jesus represented in the Super Bowl, which is something I can't remember happening. I mean, we've been a part of this for 6 years now. You know, in the first 2 years we were a part of the Super Bowl radio and all that stuff. But to be able to have an opportunity to come with He Gets Us and be a part of this is really, really special, and I'm just thankful for them for doing this. You know, you never know how much backlash you're going to get and all that stuff, and for them to really just step out in faith and represent is amazing.
What was the actual push to finally get like advertisement on people's faith and talking about Jesus and everything else now at the Super Bowl? Why is it now that time?
Yeah, honestly, I think what's so special, and we were just talking about this a few minutes ago, was the willingness that the NFL has for men and players to have voices is really expanding, and just for us to be able to be genuine about what we believe in and why we believe it. So we're really thankful to the NFL for being that way, because not a lot of businesses are open to that. And so I think that's the difference is just this the way that the NFL has opened up to just allowing players to truly be themselves and share what they believe.
And so many people backing it too. You know, so many supporters and believers backing the mission of just sharing the love of Jesus. And so really thankful for the kingdom of God stepping up and stepping together to go share the love of the Lord.
Well, you know, I was interested, you know, I go back to the Damar Hamlin situation, and everybody got to see in live action all those players on both sides of the ball there, you know, both teams praying for him and everything else. Did that kind of, you know, with that kind of spotlight on a player, did that kind of help this transformation to see, you know, where people's faith were, because you're all in, you know, your brotherhood there, and did that help in this cause, actually, to a certain extent?
Well, it's really cool because you never know how the Lord's working, and I could definitely just project something like this coming into the Super Bowl. It's cool how this year's almost, you see the NFL and you see something like the Damar Hamlin situation and the Lord receiving glory through tough times, and in a spotlight of the NFL and millions of people watching, and now to the ultimate spotlight of the Super Bowl. It's really awesome to see how Jesus takes his throne of glory and receives his glory through tough situations or glorified moments like the Super Bowl, and players, you know, mirroring his image and mirroring his glory by deflecting it from themselves and giving it to the Lord. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool season of Jesus just displaying his love and his glory through both trial and glory, and just good situations like the Super Bowl, man. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, one thing that comes to my mind, though, is it provokes conversation, you know, because, you know, people get uncomfortable talking about their faith and don't want to be pushy and to everything else. So it provokes conversation, and then you kind of come to, you know, theoretically, a come to Jesus moment like, hey, I'm opening and talking about it and about some personal things that I don't. So I really applaud you guys for at least provoking discussion.
That's exactly it, too, is almost provoking the skeptic to have a conversation about who is Jesus. You know, is he the image that maybe someone's portrayed falsely to you? Is he the hypocrite, or is he something that you've seen that, you know, some broken person displayed to you, or is he who he says he is in the scriptures? And that's who he is, and that's what we want to display, is who is Jesus and what is his way. And the way of following Jesus actually might look a lot different than you think.
We're on with the Hollister twins here, talking about their faith.
So best place to go, hegetsus.com. I know that's the main website for people who are curious. Like Blaine said, just maybe want to look into it, start a conversation. What's the best place to go?
Yeah, hegetsus.com.
Exactly. Yeah, hegetsus.com. They have all the information on there. They have some really helpful tools on there as well. You know, whether you're a person who's very questionable about their faith, or whether you're a Christian who wants to come back, or really whatever season of life you're in. So that's what's so amazing about it.
Quickly, both of you guys, pick the winners. Who you got? I know y'all not thinking the same just because y'all twins, though.
Honestly, you know, I might be. This is Jacob. I might be kind of leaning towards wanting the Eagles to win, but I think. Yeah.
And this is Cody. I got the Eagles just because there's more affiliation. I always go for the personal relationships and people I'm rooting for. So guys like Devin Allen, A.J. Brown, and guys that I know, I'd be rooting for them. So I got the Eagles.
All right, Cody, since you're a Titan, people know you well around here, 4 years with this organization. Just real quick, your thoughts on the Tim Kelly hire and promotion to OC?
Dude, love it. I absolutely love Tim. Love what he stands for. I've loved him all year. He's just been like this, humble but so full of knowledge. He's just throughout the year has had so much knowledge while having so much fun and having, he's the guy running around he's willing to humble himself and go run around on a scout team and he's the one, like he'd be the coach on the scout team sweating every day from running around and giving you a good look and having fun. And so, dude, I'm honestly so excited about that hire and so just happy for him, happy for the organization for what he brings. But a really, really incredible hire in my eyes.
So you're a restricted free agent. Any idea of the future? Any talks that you can tell us about? Where are we on any of that stuff?
Yeah, we're hearing the Titans going to give you a 6-year deal.
I'm really just waiting, man, because I had that neck injury. So right now I'm just focusing on getting healthy and dealing with what that comes with, getting healthy and discussing how I can get there. So right now I'm just focused on that.
Cool.
Well,
Appreciate it,
congrats to both of you guys.
Get healthy, man.
For carving out a career in the league like both of you have, and it's a remarkable story. And you're sharing your faith, and you're both out there and very positive in everything that you do. The no quit motto. I mean, you guys remain two great stories, and just keep doing what you're doing and being positive guys. And in researching both of you, I know you believe that the right things are going to happen in both of your careers. So we appreciate you taking some time to speak to us today.
Yeah. He gets us.
Yes, sir. Amen. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir. Cody and Jacob Hollister, twins, both playing in the NFL. Amazing
Pretty
stuff. Hegetsus.com. That's where you need to go to learn more about what they're talking about.
Yeah, people are always like, Pouncy twins.
Yeah. It is pretty wild when you get it. Pouncy twins, McCourty, but these guys are right there. They both made it too. We got to make it to the next segment. Ken in Normandy wants to go back to the original topic. Have you ever eaten bugs? That's out there. Also, Roger Goodell said something that I don't agree with, and I think maybe he even missed the point with something that he said, and I'll share that next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. We'll hear from Roger Goodell in just a second, but let's hear from Ken in Normandy.
Sure.
It's your show. It's Ken's show. It's our show. Ken, we opened the show with some crazy topic. We got down the rabbit hole of people eating a bug, either
How did that
accidentally
start?
or other. I don't know. How does anything start on this show? But Ken wanted to weigh in on
Because
this.
it was hot in here.
So let's just, yes, it was hot. Ken, what do you say?
Crazy.
Bug eating? Yes, no?
Well, actually, the reason I called is my mother used to work for a cannery for a national chain,
Okay.
and the Food and Drug Administration actually allows a certain percentage of maggots and cockroaches per can of vegetables that are produced. So everybody has eaten a bug at some point.
Oh, my.
I will say this, Ken, to back you up. I had a friend growing up. My family had a rental house. The guy who lived in our rental house came from up north somewhere, Ohio, and he worked in a ketchup factory as like a college student, and he would not even look at ketchup. And I said, why not? He goes, let's just say this. It's hot in the factory. They open the roof. Whatever drops from the sky is in the ketchup. He would not eat ketchup.
Hey, listen, I just want to say, guys, first-time caller, 30-year listener, Blaine, you would have looked great in Viking purple. You guys make me laugh so hard. I'm a huge Vikings fan who grew up in Chicago. At Ron Slay, I've spit pop all over my dash because of him. You guys are awesome.
That's hilarious.
Well,
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Ken.
That'll
Thank
make
you.
everybody's day easy.
Old
that's for
Viking
sure.
you.
Yeah, Viking you, man. Yeah, Randy Moss.
Whoa.
Ooh,
It's been
Chris
some
Carter.
great players.
Oh, man, Robert Smith.
And a lot of people talk about Buffalo. They made the Super Bowls and didn't win. Vikings made, 4 Super Bowls in the 70s and did not win. But they had some great teams and a bunch of Hall of
Purple
Famers.
People Eaters.
They were the Purple People Eaters.
Oh, I
You
played
got
in Pro Bowl with John Rando.
that dude was pretty good.
Yeah, he was really good. Who was the safety they had? I always try to think about the safety. The guy that was the safety during my time was Robert Griffith.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty solid. I think he finished with Arizona, maybe.
Maybe so. They had a guy, Paul Krause, who was the NFL leading interceptor of all time. I think he still is. It took him years to get into the Hall of Fame. He had more picks than anybody. All right, speaking
And the
of
Browners, of course.
yes, all of the Browners.
The late one.
Speaking of the NFL, we teased this. Roger Goodell had his State of the Union, so he got to ask about everything. Got to ask about officiating. People have been more unhappy about officiating.
Me? Everybody see my hand up?
Put me there too.
I can't believe it. Wow, it's just horrible.
So Lucas Panzica has a little audio from the sheriff about that very thing, and I think some of you will be surprised by. This is him talking about officiating for his league.
I think for us, when you look at officiating, I don't think it's ever been better in the league. There are over 42,000 plays in a season. Multiple infractions could occur on any play. Take that out and extrapolate that. That's hundreds, if not millions, of potential fouls. And our officials do an extraordinary job of getting those. Are there mistakes in the context of that? Yes. They are not perfect, and officiating never will. But we've also had, obviously, replay and other aspects that help us address those issues to make sure they're not something that we can't correct on the field. Communications between our office, that is not the case. In the championship game, that was stopped appropriately because the clock was running by an official on the field. That happens frequently in our game. That's not an unusual thing to have that happen. So again, we want to go back and look at the facts. We may not disagree, we may not agree with every TV announcer or every officiating expert, but we think our officials are doing a great job. But we're always going to look through our competition committee and everything else we have, how we improve our officiating. But it will never be perfect. In addition, I think we all have to realize through the quality of what we see on our broadcast, you've never been able to see the kinds of things that you can see today. And you see it in super slow-mo. You see it where you can actually stop it. Sometimes that distorts a call potentially, but the reality is our officials are held to an incredibly high standard, and I think they meet it. Will we try to get better? You betcha.
why not use some of that technology if we can really see what's going on? And I don't want the game to slow down because the NFL game it's 3 hours, the whole in and out 3 hours. I mean, you can set your watch by an NFL game.
But how? Give me the how. How can we do it? How can we use technology to make it better?
I think the eye in the sky in real time to have an official or two or however many you have, who, like I sit in front of 3 screens and so do you.
Well, they do have people at the stadiums. They have people at the headquarters
to give them power if a call is obviously missed on the field to say to stop the game or to make the call, to get in the guy's ear and say, hey, that wasn't a catch. Wasn't a catch. We saw
good
it.
example is Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith.
Right.
Because
we all knew when he got up running, come out, run the play, that, hey, man, I think we should be reviewing this. Even even the guys up in the booth should have been doing the same thing.
Yeah. So, and everything.
Because I sure believed it was a catch live in action.
Too. And then as soon as you saw the one replay, you're like, oh, my gosh, that wasn't even close.
Yeah, exactly.
He made an incredible play to make it to even make it look like he caught it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he did. But to have the ability to, in real time, maybe they couldn't have even caught that in real time, but to have the ability to have guys with multiple angles watching screens, or a play where they call roughing the passer, where it's not roughing the passer. And I know that's subjective, and that's what you get into, or subjective. You get into, well, I think it is. Well, I think it isn't. Or where they drop their whole body weight on the quarterback, or
what was that Coach Mack was talking about, the rugby?
Oh, the ankle, the hip drop. Hip drop, where you get them and then slide down and stop their foot and make their foot turn the other way. You'd stop them, but you drop your weight down on their foot and break their, high ankle, sprain them.
Yeah.
Hip drop. You ever hear of that? Anybody ever go, Blaine, don't hip drop tackle the guy from the Jags?
I don't think they too much cared about it in my era. About some hip drop. They said just body slam them. It's okay. We like that. That looks barbaric. But, there's a part of me, I want to agree with the sheriff. And here's what I think he can't say, and this is what he's really trying to say. With all this new technology that you're mentioning and all this high def, now it's making our referees, they're doing a great job, but now it's not making them look as though they are, because we can go back and slow-mo in time and see the actual play. Now, some of it is, you're talking about subjective, like the tackling the quarterback, spinning down. Those are the calls that are missing that I'm upset. All the kind of replay-ish type plays, it's here or there, hit or miss. Sometimes I'm like, man, that didn't, and then it goes the other way. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't, half the time I feel like I don't even know all the rules, So it's hard to say if they're improving, because I think the TV and the replays has hurt the job. And I said this in the beginning of being a referee. And it's hard. And I've now become the other side. And these last 2 years, they're missing critical calls that are, to me, determining games. And it doesn't have to be at the end of a game for me.
Right.
It could be in the middle, second quarter. And I'm like, oh, they botched that. They missed the call. And I'm coming away like, man, that play could have been a huge difference in this game.
All right,
So-
Lucas is telling us we got to go. I got another referee thing that I think should have happened for years, and I think it should happen now. I want to get your thoughts on it. A thing about refs after the game. I want to ask you about that next. Blaine and Mickey. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, just breaking news. Everybody in the NBA pretty much got traded except for LeBron and Ja Morant. Kevin Durant had his dinner last night and called the Nets and was like, hey, man, go ahead and trade me. That dude was traded before breakfast this morning. You talk about a league where people have power. Man, NBA, hey, dude, I'm ready to get traded. Okay.
Hey, well, man, they live in
one night.
Yeah, they live in a lot of suitcases, man.
Oh, my gosh. They are suitcase central.
I have no idea how to do the salary cap and all this future full picks and, oh, my gosh. In 2027 and 8 and 9 and, oh, my. It's fun, though, to watch all the excitement. But, man, the West has gotten really strong, man. I couldn't even tell you, the 8th seed that makes it to the playoffs could probably beat the number 1 seed now.
Well, West went through years where it was a completely different deal than the East. You'd have like 2 teams in the East under 500 that make the playoffs. West has been just a strong league for a long time. In the 80s, when you and me were coming up, Sixers, Celtics, Pistons, Bulls, all in the East, trying to beat the Lakers.
I love the East. Yeah.
Well, and early on the Rockets in the early part of the decade, but it was Lakers versus everybody for like the last half of the 80s. Yeah. Roger Goodell versus everybody. We were talking about NFL officiating, and Roger said it's never been better, and that your high def TV and that your instant replays. That's what makes people think that they're not doing a good job because they rev tens of thousands of plays every year. And
that's partly true, a little bit.
I would get that. And I said, I got something for you because I'm curious where you are on this. Joseph Osai hits Mahomes out of bounds, gets them 15 yards. Mm-hmm. Dude goes out and butt kicks a field goal, and it falls over the goalpost, and he needed every bit of those 15 yards to get it there. Joseph Osai has to stand in front of his locker and answer all the questions.
Oh, yeah.
As does everybody who does everything for the most part, unless a guy just runs out the back of the locker. But for most part, everybody sits there and answers all the questions. I've always thought that at least the head of every officiating crew should have to have some kind of a media conference after the game. And answer questions like, okay, tell us why this got called on this particular play. Explain, and Goodell even mentioned the clock mishap in the Chiefs-Bengals game. That happens all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's sort of theory. It's like talking to a head coach. You go, does he really believe the stuff that's coming out of his mouth? Or does he just tell us that because he has to back his referees, and you got to back your players? Whether you agree with stuff or not.
Would you be for like the head of officials having a news conference after the game?
I've said this for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely do. I think they have to answer because people want to know the answers. It's just kind of it's a different world. Must adjust. I mean, and then that whatever they say gets scrutinized, and they must know the answers because they need to have dialogue with those other referees. That's why you're the head referee to understand why they made their call. Whether you agree with it or not, that guy had the better view. And you had to side with him on that call. Mm-hmm. So they have the answer to that. I do. We want answers. So, yeah. I know that sounds crazy in today's world, but I think it's gotten to that point. And they're never going to win because the TV high def is always going to win. And the instant replay, they're going to win.
Boy, it's going to high def TV, it doesn't tell any lies now. Zero lies told by high def TV.
And, things are happening at a fast pace, and it's not as much time as most of us sitting on our couch. It seems. I mean, those things are happening fast. And then we got a team running up there trying to do a play fast and quick, and nobody's in your ear saying, hey, I think we're going to replay this. Stop the play. Immediately, if they believe it was a catch, even the replay people aren't even replaying it, as we saw in the Philadelphia game. So the head referee, just imagine if you're the head referee, you got to come now and explain that. Mm-hmm. And say, hey, my guy who's on the sideline judge there, whoever the name, and he thought it was a catch. He never even thought anything about it. Once we looked at the replay after the game or at halftime or whenever you may, and we saw that it wasn't a catch. So he missed it. That's, the error, human error is going to make mistakes. To be honest, they can call a penalty on every play. Mm-hmm. I'm serious. Whether you're talking about a DB holding, offensive lineman holding, D lineman, head slap, twist, holding another guy so the other guy can do. Linebackers holding the tight ends. They literally can call a holding play. So to me, I always thought if I was a referee, I'm only going to call plays that's actually impacting this actual side of the ball. Something, if it's egregious, you got to call it.
Right.
But if it's impacting the determination of this play. And I'm talking about the smaller, guy holding past 5 yards now. He's at 7, 8. They could really do that every play. Whether you're a DB, an offensive lineman, and even defensive linemen are holding on to, the ET stunts and everything else. So it's a tough job. It really is. Yeah. Maybe we can get some robots to do it.
Would you be for if the NFL said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have NFL officiating academy. We're going to have people apply for it. You got to have this much. I don't know. You have to have experience as a college ref or however they do it, whatever criterion they set. And you go to this, you're a full-time employee. You get your eyes checked. You get it all the time. Like everything is, you have to be this in-tune athletic person where they, try to get younger and more. Because I had somebody tell me the other day, this came up. I was in a grocery store or something. I said, they need to all be full-time. They need to be all young. I said, well, you can't just say all young. You can't discriminate against people like that.
Right.
But he's like, okay, well, maybe you have like a school, like academy. And I said, oh, okay.
You listening? Well, if they make them have to be able to hit certain marks.
Yeah.
With, let's say, if you have to, crawl, just some military type test or whatever you want to call it, getting over the wall. You just want to make sure they're in shape, or run a mile in so many seconds or whatever it may be. So I would agree to that. Yeah, and I think they should be full time. If they can do that, and do something else, power to them. But they keep attuned to it. And to me, I would say if I was the league, I'd also, with all these new leagues now, I would say, no, our referees, this is a time for tune-up, whether we have some of those guys in there or we have potential guys in the Harper that we think are going to be potential referees as well. So it's funny, one of my former teammates, he's a referee, and I see him and I laugh all the time, and that's Terry Killens.
Terry Killens, yeah.
Yeah, so he from Penn State, and so, I've never really got into the weeds about, like, when he started. And then where he's at, and he's not a head judge yet, or referee, but he got into that, and it's pretty interesting actually, because you gotta be in somewhat shape. Most of the guys I see are in decent shape to be able to go up. If you're the line judge, those are the guys I'm kind of seeing and watching. I mean, you got to be able to run. I mean, you even watch some of the high schools. Some of these dudes are scooting, man. Mm-hmm. I think there should be some form of parameters.
Do you like more former players doing it?
I'm never going to foxhole and just say former players.
Yeah.
I think it should be open to anybody and everybody to have an opportunity to be a referee if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
So here's what I would say is I think more former players who had short stints in the league should maybe think about it as a career.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people do. I just think, Terry Killens, I think he's the only guy that I know that was a former player. I'm sure there's probably
he's the name that always comes up.
Right. I think there's a couple other guys, but it's some other guys you see. I think they play like college sports, maybe some smaller schools and stuff like that. So I'm not going to say it's just a be. No, you can't do that either. So I would say it should be open to more people and just bring awareness that it's a great job to have. And to me, if you make it a salary type year-round deal, make some provisions with make sure you're staying up to par and maybe do other leagues kind of tune up for it. I would be open to that for sure. And I'm sure they'll get there at some point.
They make billions. They could pay them. They could pay them.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to start being a union and all these other things. I think all those things went into play when they had the CBA. And I thought the referees are actually going to hold out. I don't know how long ago this was. Maybe 5 years ago. Maybe time is flying. But so yeah, I just think it's a tough job, and I don't know if they're going to ever be able to get it right. To be honest, with instant replay, it is just tough. We're all sitting home on the couch and looking at this high deal. We go, man, that wasn't a catch. Devontae, I had no idea it wasn't a catch till they showed it later. I said, oh man, when he hit the ground, the ball moved. He didn't catch it. So, Mickey Ryan get out there and think be a side judge.
No, I don't know, man.
Oh man. Yeah,
my eyeballs are still holding up pretty well.
I bet it'd be cooler out on that football field than it is in here.
Yeah, I bet that's right. It was pretty cool for Vandy last night because they drew up a heck of a play and a great final shot in that game against Tennessee. It was a really exciting game, and Mike Wilson covered it, and he covers the Vols for Knoxville News Sentinel, and we'll get the inside story on all that next. Blaine and Mickey.
Was that him or is that Mike Keith? I don't know. Oh, wow.
This year, the only app you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app. That's because when you download FanDuel now and use the promo code Mickey, you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You're going to get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel, they let you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who's going to score a touchdown. And we had our friend Chelsa Messinger earlier. Travis Kelce always scores a touchdown in the playoffs, so give me that on a top-rated sportsbook app that's safe and secure and super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantly. So join FanDuel today with the promo code Mickey. Claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57 and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Preston jumped into Twitter at Blaine and Mickey. By the way, follow Blaine and Mickey on Twitter. Come on now.
Twitter.
Preston said,
And IG.
I got to find this. Some real talk right now. I agree 100%. I feel like at least one official should have to speak following every game to encourage accountability. And I think they do need the officials to be full-time employees. Good points, fellas, or great points, he says. Thank you, Preston.
Coaches, players have to. Yeah. And so does Mike Wilson.
There was a little bit of replay at the end of that Vandy, Tennessee game last night, and son of a gun, that shot gotten off with a 1/10 of a second left, and Mike Wilson, he covers all these games. Man, your thoughts just about literally the last 25 seconds or so of insanity, Mike, that we saw at the end of Vandy, Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, I think you start on the Tennessee side. There were 3 fatal errors that cost them that game. You look at Julian Phillips not dunking the ball with about 14 seconds left, which, to be fair, live I didn't think was as bad as it was until I got a chance to go back and watch the replay and see that was a chance to seal the game, put it away. Santiago Vescovi missing the front end of free throws, which make both of those, the game is also over. Yeah. Make one of 2, the game is tied if Vanderbilt makes that shot. And then the third one was the defensive breakdown where Santiago Vescovi helped out of the corner, came over to the middle of the lane to try to contest the layup that might have been there for Vanderbilt, kicks to the corner, open 3, makes it. And those 3 plays in the final 15 seconds there cost Tennessee a win.
Well, and you have Barnes who said after the game, I told him just don't give up a 3 here. They give up the 3. It was a heck of a play that Stack drew up, but literally Barnes said after the game, all I told him was don't give up a 3.
Yeah, and it's simple math. I mean, I get in the moment Santi helping over. Vanderbilt got a good angle at the top of the screen. They passed into Liam Robbins. Point guard came downhill, and Tennessee got caught a little bit. I mean, Sakai was beaten toward the rim. It wasn't going to be a gimme layup for Vanderbilt, but it was pretty good look. So I get where Santi's coming over there to help. But the problem is, a layup in that moment, you're still alive and you're going to overtime. A 3-pointer game's over. And Vanderbilt was shooting well. I mean, they made 10 threes on Tennessee yesterday. They hadn't given up more than 8 in a game this season. I think they were 10 of 25. So it seemed like if Vanderbilt was going to get a 3, it was going to go in. That's just kind of how that game had seemed to go for Tennessee. I mean, Liam Robbins has made 6 3-pointers all year. He walks in and hits 3 of his first 4. So it was one of those games with a lot of those things happening, but in that exact moment, that was the last thing that Tennessee could afford to give up.
Mike Wilson, our guest at By Mike Wilson, Knoxville News Sentinel, covering the Tennessee Volunteers.
So should have Barnes played zone on that last play? I've been getting that question a lot by associates and friends.
No, because zones often can give up better looks from 3.
Right, they still can give up 3.
Yeah, I think man-to-man's the move there because you're trying to force Vanderbilt into a specific possession, but the downside was at the top on the screen that Robbins set, they got lost just slightly with Sakai and Olivier up the top there, and that's what caused Santi to rotate over to help. And when he rotated over to help, the pass was open to the corner. And that's one of those moments where you're Tennessee, you tip your cap to the guy hitting the 3-pointer. Barely gets it off, hits it perfectly. He had a great game. Lawrence had a great game. I think he had 19
points.
Absolutely phenomenal game. So that's a perfect guy for Vanderbilt to have taking that shot. But I would have stuck with man-to-man there.
Right. Well, maybe I asked in a different way. Barnes was predictable the entire game as far as their defensive philosophy. You switch it up after a timeout, come out in a zone, some form of zone. It could have been 3-2, so only a 3 could beat you. So, or it could have been a 2-3, whatever you were comfortable with. But the change of pace now, could they call timeout again, Vanderbilt? Back-to-back? And then they would have drawn up a play for man-to-man because you're predictable. Instead, you come out in something different to change, and now they're hesitant and thinking out there. They're college athletes.
Sure, but on the counter side of it, Tennessee switches the defense away from what they're doing. It throws their players in an uncomfortable situation as well. Not uncomfortable, but not what they're in rhythm with doing as well. And the reality is, Tennessee had the defense it wanted. They just didn't execute it. At the end of the day, we aren't even talking about what defense they ran if the defense was executed.
So Vescovi should have came off, and he should have stayed and covered at least the passing angle and not tried to double the guy on penetration because 2 wasn't going to beat you.
Exactly, but you get it. When you've played in high-level games, you don't think in the moment, I'm going to stay right here.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
your thought is stop the shot from going in. You're running over there. I mean, that's why when you look at the Julian Phillips not dunking thing, I think it's so easy to sit here and say, well, he's an idiot. He didn't dunk it. And that's because that's some tweet replies I got last night was he doesn't have a brain for doing that. I'm like, well, have you been in a moment in a game with 10 seconds left where the previous 3 plays were all you're running out the clock trying to get fouled? I mean, in that moment, I don't think it's as clear-cut mentally what to do unless you were explicitly told in a huddle, score if you are wide open to score. Without that instruction, I think there's gray area there of I'm going to keep doing what we've been doing.
Yeah, because in the moment, I was just like you on the Phillips. I was like, well, I might have went in and just laid it up just because I was free. But, you're not thinking, 2 baskets is better than us having possession and time clicking. And then, you think he's going to get fouled anyway at some point in time. But I was watching SEC Network, and it said the history. I wanted to know if you knew this. The history of Vanderbilt beating Tennessee when they're in the top 10 has happened 6 times.
That's interesting. I mean, I know there was the number 1 game in 2008?
Yeah, 2008, 19, 2000, 1976, and 1968, which you weren't born, I'm sure.
Not quite. But you look back, too, in whatever it was when Tennessee went there right after they took the number 1 ranking in 2018, 2019, they barely survived that game in overtime. It was kind of deja vu of that 2008 situation where Tennessee hit the number 1 spot and then went to Vandy and lost. But that was the game where Grant Williams had like 43 or something, 23 free throws and all of that. So it seems to happen. I mean, Memorial gets weird for Tennessee sometimes, and we certainly saw that again last night.
Well, one more, Mike, and that is, what does this loss to Vandy actually mean to Tennessee? Like, to the rankings, confidence, kind of go down that kind of road because it was back and forth the entire game. You really couldn't tell who was ranked, in the top 10.
It means you better figure it out. Tennessee, since its game against Texas, has looked lousy. They went down to Florida and lost by 13. They edged Auburn in an offensive something sort of game. And then they lose last night on a buzzer beater, where really it was the defense that faltered more than anything else, just giving up the 10 threes to Vanderbilt, which Vanderbilt, Jerry Stackhouse's teams have played Tennessee close. Mm-hmm. This is the first time that Tennessee's lost in one of those matchups. But the past 3 games have been bad for Tennessee. There just has not been consistent performances individually, team-wise, right after you had probably your best, if not your second best, win of the year. You look back to that Kansas one in November being the other one. But Tennessee beat Texas 82-71 and looks dominant in doing so. Looks like a team you're talking about. This could be a Final Four kind of team. And then you're talking 1 seed and all this stuff. The last week, Tennessee looks more like a 4 or 5 seed losing the first weekend. And that's problematic because you're heading in the wrong direction, heading into a really brutal stretch because they've got Missouri, Alabama, at Kentucky, at A&M as their next 4. And that right there can drop you in the SEC standings to where you're playing earlier in the SEC tournament. And, yeah, I mean, it's a bad loss is what it all comes down to. Losing to Vanderbilt, to me, is the worst loss Tennessee's had this season, worse than that Colorado one in Nashville early in the season. That was not a game that Tennessee should have lost yesterday.
Well, speaking of losses, what about Triple J, James? What's the extent of his ankle injury there towards the end of the game?
Yeah, the word afterward was sprained ankle. Don't know how severe, don't know what the impact of that's going to be, but I think if you're Tennessee, the good news is it's not his knee. I think that was probably one of the initial thoughts is just given he's missed 8 of the first 13 games with the left knee issue stemming from his offseason procedure. So it's probably a little bit of a win knowing that it wasn't the same knee that had been bothering him. So I'm sure we'll know more tomorrow when we talk to Rick Barnes about that as far as his status and health moving forward.
We're with the great Mike Wilson from the Knoxville News Sentinel.
So, Mike, you were talking about, this is a team that can go and beat Texas and look like world beaters and have everybody making huge predictions. And then it's a team that can drop 2 of 3 games, losing to Florida and Vandy, sandwiched around a win over Auburn, which was a wild one at home, and, 46-43. Let me ask you this. You're the beat writer. You're there every day. You have the pulse of the team. Which team – who are these guys? Is it the lose to Vandy team? Is it the beat Texas team? Are they an out in the first weekend team? Or, who do you think this team is?
Well, I think this team is right now is erratic. I mean, being around it, watching it, it's like someone asked me today, like, do I think they're going to beat Missouri? And I go, I have no idea which team's going to show up, because that's what it's been now for a little bit, where Tennessee's just had a couple duds in their losses, and they also had a dud in a win. You're just not seeing consistent performances. When you're not seeing consistent performances, you start wondering why. What's going on that there's not a rallying together built around this adversity? Because that's what I think you saw last year. Tennessee kind of struggled early in SEC play last year, if memory serves, and then they really got it together after that blowout loss at Kentucky, and really played great basketball through February and into March, which is what made them kind of that trendy 3 seed to the Final Four pick that was out there. But that's not what this team looks like right now. It is a very, very good Tennessee basketball team. Do not get me wrong. Mm-hmm. They play defense as well as any team I've seen, but you don't know what team's showing up right now. And that's a concern when you're talking about heading into a 4-game gauntlet, and you're talking about March being 3 weeks away as well. So I'd love to tell you that I know what this Tennessee team is. I thought I did after they beat Texas. I don't know that I know that right now.
Real quick, though, who do you look to from player to coach, the head coach, on why the team looks how they look? What percentage, if you had to split it up amongst the players and the head coach?
I mean, when you talk execution yesterday, I think you have to point to some player mistakes. Mm-hmm. When you talk about the fact that this team is just not playing well, at some point there's coaching elements to that. Mm-hmm. But there also is just a simple reality of Florida and Auburn. Tennessee missed a lot of open shots in those games. Mm-hmm. And that's not really anyone's fault necessarily, because there are some games where shots just don't go in. I mean, the shot quality Twitter account after the Florida game put out that Tennessee should have won by like 5 based on the shots they took and the statistical trends. So sometimes that's just literally how the game goes. So I don't know if there's one individual bit of blame, but it's pretty clear there needs to be some come to Jesus conversations when you're heading into this stretch here. I know there was one before Auburn. There apparently needs to be more of them because this team has a lot of potential, but you know, right now when you're teetering and struggling a bit in terms of what you are, you better get it righted before it gets too late to do so.
You mentioned they got Missouri up next. That's the number 12 scoring team in the country. And Kobe Brown, if you look at his overall stat line, like they're comparing him to the all-time greats at Missouri right now.
It's crazy. What Dennis Gates has done there is incredible because it's a very comparable roster in some ways to what Conzo Martin had, and that team played, what did they score, 30 points a game for the most part? I mean, it was a horribly low-scoring team playing a slow brand of basketball, and Dennis Gates has walked in there with some newcomers, but with a Kobe Brown familiar face. Isaiah Mosley's hot right now. I mean, he to me has been the most impressive first-year coach in the SEC. I wondered if he would be that going into the season, but man, what he's doing with them is really, really impressive. And seeing that offense go up against Tennessee's defense is going to be pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be fun. Just like it's fun talking to Mike Wilson at @ByMikeWilson on Twitter. Mike, thank you for the time today. Hey, real quick on the way out, Tennessee baseball about to get started. I saw guys making All-American. What one pick to finish second or first in the coaches poll? I can't remember. I've looked at it earlier today, and now I can't remember.
They were picked second. SEC poll came out today, too, and they were picked to win the East. So, yeah, I mean, they're getting the buzz that you'd expect with what they've got going right now.
I know you're excited about it. Mike, thanks for the time, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Always, guys. Thank you for having me.
The great one.
The great one, Mike Wilson. Yeah. So 11-game losing streak, Vandy had to Tennessee. 15 seconds left. Vandy is down 2. They had to foul 5 times to get in the bonus.
Yeah, that was crazy. Well, that shows they weren't calling a lot of fouls.
No. Nope.
Tennessee took 3 free throws.
Yeah, the entire game. Right?
Yes, and Vanderbilt took, I think, 12. So overall,
still wasn't a lot.
That's not a lot.
Yeah. When Phillips turned down, let's call it a layup or a dunk, whatever you want, whoever was doing play-by-play, was it Tom Hart who was doing
Roy Philpott was on the game yesterday with Pat Bradley.
Okay, so Roy Philpott essentially said, like, oh, he's going to keep running clock. And Pat Bradley was like, he should have dunked it. He should. You take that.
Yeah, and Rick Barnes. I heard fans around me in this. I was at the game. The section.
You were at the game?
Yeah, the section.
Fingers back
Come
there,
on, man.
He was up eating crickets.
Well, I just happened to be there.
I was eating popcorn. The entire section I was in was basically just all orange, and then all the conversations around me were about Rick Barnes and like, how could Rick Barnes tell him not to? People were thinking that was a coaching mistake of Rick Barnes telling his team, whatever you do, just get fouled, don't put up a shot, But Barnes said after the game, no, you absolutely have to go score that.
You could immediately see Barnes go to him and hit the chance, and it looked like a coach telling him, don't ever do that again.
So you have a freshman mistake with Phillips not going for the bucket, and a veteran Vescovy, best free throw shooter on the team, missing the front end of a 1-and-1. You deserve to lose the game.
And I'll say it again and again, and people are in the Zone TV chat, and some are saying, hey, we can hear you guys. I guess this was during the break, but most people are kind of trying to break down the defense or what happened or what didn't happen. That was a heck of a play that Stack drew up.
Oh, no doubt
my
about
gosh.
it. And the counter move, because I'm sure everybody was spread out. If they W, then you do the layup. If they don't, you dump it up. So, yeah, that was a great play. Great pass, and naturally, he knocked it down.
Right in front of everybody. He was surrounded by his teammates as the ball went through the bucket.
Yeah. It was funny because I thought some of the role players need to pick it up as far as scoring for Tennessee and the basketball team, and they did. It's the vet guys like James, Ziegler, and, Vescovy ended up what he ended up with, 14 maybe or so. But it's just like, man, and it was hard for them to stop. Even though Robbins, and he had a couple threes. I know he had 3 threes.
He was 3 for 4. He balled
threes.
out, and he had 3 blocks.
3 all season.
He had 3 blocks and 9 rebounds.
That guy is hard to move. He is a for real man. No doubt about it. And the young guy, what's his name?
Chobea Walker.
Walker. I thought did a good job. Then he made a dumb foul on a 3-point play.
Well,
that's what you get when you're, he was playing well. He was playing better than anybody else.
He played more minutes last night than he's ever played.
Yeah, and he missed a couple opportunities around the rim, and then in that next sequence, he fouls the 3-point shooter. He's like, okay, you're done. But he did. There were opportunities to come away with a lot of positives for Tennessee. Tyreek Key had his best game in SEC 14. Play so far. But you got to credit Liam Robbins 2 days ago said that this is personal. This game, veteran guy for Vanderbilt, and he played like it.
Yeah, he was hard to stop that first game. They played him at Knoxville.
Well, the game against Missouri is going to be interesting because they are like 12th scoring team in the nation. I think 82 points a game they average. So Tennessee's going to have to make some shots to beat Missouri. Even if you D them up, they're going to score.
Dennis Gates doing a great job over there in year one.
Final segment of the program coming up. Blaine did something years ago, and it helped Blaine make it to the NFL. But now DeMar Smith says he doesn't want this thing anymore. And Preds tickets, because Lucas is ready to give some away. That's all coming up next.
Ooh.
Blaine and Mickey, 1045 The Zone. This is fun. What is this, Lucas?
Charlie XCX. Am I saying that right?
Yes, you are. My
You know
daughter.
who that is,
my
huh?
daughter knows.
Oh, my. Your daughter knows.
What are we doing
What you
here?
guys
I'm
back there
bopping
doing,
my head
man?
to this. It's
Hey, man,
Charlie
I
XCX.
just saw Mason. He said you better get that popcorn out of there.
Mm-hmm.
No popcorn here. I ate
You
it
can
all
buy
last
some
night.
popcorn at the Preds game,
Yeah.
and you can go for free. Calling all University of Alabama fans, students, and alumni. It's Alabama night at the Preds game, February 21. That's coming up, by the way. Be caller 5 now. You can win tickets to see the Preds take on the Canucks right here in Smashville. Good old Smashville, 615-737-1045. Caller 5 gets the tickets. And if you're an Alabama fan, just get some tickets and go to the game. Those college nights are fun. They do all the local universities. For more info or to purchase tickets, visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and don't you dare miss out. DeMaurice Smith, Blaine, has called for the end of the combine. No more combine.
Oh, I know why.
He wants regional pro days put on by the NFLPA, possibly. He said, as soon as you show up, you have to waive all your medical rights, and you just have to sit there and endure embarrassing questions. And I think that's horrible. And he said, I don't want to poo-poo any of that, but would you want your son to spend hours inside of an MRI machine and then be evaluated by 32 separate team doctors who are, by the way, only doing it for one reason? What's that reason? To decrease your draft value.
Right. That was what I was gonna say. He's thinking that, which that is the actual whole job of the league, is to find issues and not actually decrease your value, but they're trying to find issues. Like I said, man, I remember them pulling on they made my knees hurt, just pulling on them. Like, hey, these bow legs, have you torn your ACL before? Do you see a scar? Wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be the doctor?
Yeah.
No, I didn't do that. This is really loose. I said it's come very handy being loose.
Mm.
Yeah, this knee moves way too much. Mm-hmm. But if you did, it'd be hard to replace these. I said, but don't wish that upon me. This is how I was talking to these dudes. That's kind of conversation. That's why DeMaurice Smith is saying that. I walked out of there, my knees were sore. I'm like, good Lord, man.
This is before you got to go run, jump,
yeah. It was the day
anything.
Before. It was the day before. No, my running was 6 a.m.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a wake-up call.
Rise and shine.
Yeah. But I was a morning guy, so it didn't really bother me.
Okay.
But it was still
military background.
Hey, man, whoa.
Oh, there's some dudes who did not want to be up at 6 a.m.
Like, it's like I'm going to run a fast 40 at 8 a.m. compared to 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I'm like, man, quit complaining, man. Just be happy you're here. So, I had that kind of mentality, especially I'm coming from Ball State. It wasn't like I was coming from, Tennessee or something. So I was happy to be there. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity. It's interesting. I don't know if they should get rid of it, but I am open to moving it around a little bit. And maybe he's saying they don't want to have any physicals, and only, at these pro days, you get your own physicals.
Right.
On your own. Each team determine how they want to facilitate that. And you just go get your test. You do all the physical testing, running, jumping, all those things. So I don't know if he's saying even if they move it around. He's probably leveraging something he's trying to negotiate, I would assume.
Everything's a negotiation.
In my mind, it is, but I don't know if the NFL feels that way.
Well, everything's still attempting a negotiation, at least.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing about the combine deal is that they've turned it into big business.
They said it would never be on TV, and it's on TV.
And it's on TV, and
they said they're never going to move it, and they have not yet.
But they're sure talking about it.
Yeah.
Because you know why? Because people would have to bid on it.
Yeah, and you make more moolah.
So
NFL.
People need to understand that the NFL views everything as units of TV, not people. It's units of TV.
And business.
And business. So if you ever wondered that, because you and me talked about this, we were sitting at home doing this show on Zoom in COVID. Well, guess who never missed anything? The NFL. We're going to play every one of our games. We play them on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We don't care. They played every game in COVID The Broncos had a dude on the practice squad who was a college quarterback who started a game at quarterback. I don't know if that dude's ever played again in the NFL. He started a game. Remember him? They started.
I remember that, but I don't remember what his name was.
They had a dude who was on the practice squad that had been a college quarterback. They were trying to convert to another position. They played a game and like, hey, you're the quarterback, bro. Have a good time. That was impossible, horrible to watch, but it was on TV and we watched it.
Well, some people say that was who was playing last year, too. I love that, my twin Russell. Come on, Russell, let's get it right. Come on, Peyton the Savior.
But this is another TV show, and here's the thing, man.
You're right.
It's like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. By the time everybody cycles through that sucker, it's multiple days of TV programming. They're not going to give that up. They're not going to give – that's in the TV contract. They're not, okay, DeMaris, whatever. We're not giving this up.
Well, if they then decide to move the combine every 3 or 4 years, which the debate is Indianapolis is set up where you can get the physicals and everything is just close right there. But you can find other cities, even if you bus them around and everything else. Maybe we could bring more money, different cities, depending on where they're at, especially if it's in warmer cities.
Yeah.
They may be able to do it.
And he's talking about making it regional. So, you're in this part of the country, you go to this one. If you're in this part of the country, go to that one. And NFL, the owners might be like, okay, well, show us how that works TV-wise and money-wise. Let's see.
And they're going to say, well, it's more money because now you got them at different locations.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Oh, tell us all about it. Speaking of the NFL, there's a Super Bowl week going on, and 3HL is live next from Radio Row at the Super Bowl. Maybe they'll talk to Goodell. You don't know. They find people every year.
Yeah, and I don't think that roof is open.
Ron will open it.
But in the meantime.
In between time.
Peace.